I recently moved places and obviously was forced with the decision on finding the best energy provider, gas provider and internet provider. So what utilities providers are the best and how do you find the best utility provider for you? In this video, I give you a couple of things to think about when making a decision and a couple of tips on how to find the best utility provider and obviously to save money in the end. Then that's what we want. We want to have the best service, but also want to save money, right? So starting with the three things that I wanted to talk about today. That is, as mentioned, gas, electricity, and most important, internet. All the things that I'm going to talk about today are true for the area that I live, which is Melbourne, Victoria in Australia. But most of it is actually very true for all other parts of the world as well. Starting with electricity and gas. In Victoria, there's a platform called compare.energy.vic.gov.au. I'll share the link in my description below. But what that website does is gives you some information on finding the best electricity provider and the best gas provider, depending on the criteria that you have. So for your specific circumstances. It asks a couple of questions on how large your household is, on where exactly you live. That is then depending on what providers are available. So it certainly gives you a great overview. And the main criteria you should look at for electricity, as an example, how much is your utilization and what is important to you? Is it really just the price, or do you want to make sure that it is renewable energy included in the mix? And also, what do the services look like that the company provides that you want to use? Do they have any online platforms that are easy to use, or do they recommend any other benefits on when you become a customer of theirs? For electricity, I decided to go with Atlassian Energy. They're actually one of the cheapest providers, and one of the greatest things I saw was that they have a very, very easy to understand cost structure. And that's what struck me about all the other competitors. Some of them had kind of good pricing, but really just if you actually used up their offer. And if you miss out to pay a bill on time, it already gets 30% more expensive, for example. For gas, it's a lot simpler because there are not that many providers out there, at least not here in Victoria. And also the cost of the gas is actually very, very similar. I actually can't say if there's a price that is regulated, but the costs are actually very, very similar, so there's not much of a difference. Just a couple of dollars when you calculate it for the entire year. So I actually stick with the provider that we had before, and in my situation, that is Origin. And the last one on my list, finding the right internet provider. That was certainly the most important one for me because I want to make sure that my internet connection is sufficient for what I want to do. So looking at the upload and download speed that I can get, that should be as high as possible, but also in a reasonable cost structure. Here, it is very, very dependent on your location. There are so many different technologies. Is it ADSL, ADSL+? Does your area already provide NBN, which is one of the newer technologies that is used? First, have a look what is available at your location and then start looking into the different providers. And there are many, many differences. Yes, there are the, let's say, top 3 companies or potentially 4 companies that everyone knows, which is Optus, Vodafone, Telstra, and potentially TPG, the 4th one. But those are just the top 3, top 4 here in Australia. And there are certainly, now that NBN is there, a couple of more providers that can offer a very competitive service. yes, the top 3 have a very established service and they offer sometimes a little bit more than just the internet connection. And they certainly own some of the networks, especially around ADSL connections or the broadband connections if you use them. But it really comes down to what you are looking for. In my circumstances, my house has an NBN connection with a technology that offers speed up to 100 Mbits per second. So I obviously was keen to actually get the full speed out of my connection. So I started comparing the offers that were there from the top 3 companies, but also included some other companies that I found online. And there are a couple of comparison websites you can find. I'll leave a link in the description so that you can find one of the comparison sites as well. And it left me with 2 choices. One, do I want to go with an established provider that is a little bit more expensive? And one additional feature that they had was having a fallback option to 4G in case your NBN connection breaks down. But I thought that might be really just needed for the start when you move in. Because otherwise I can still go back to my 4G connection of the mobile phone in case I really need to get internet at the time when my NBN goes down. So I decided to go with Mate. Mate is a relatively young Australian company and they really have a very easy to understand price model and price structure. You have plans starting from 12 and going up to 100 Mbits per second. And even then on the top plan, there's one hidden contract I found that offers a higher upload stream as well. So you have a 100/40 connection, but you actually need to give them a call to find that offer. And it's just $10 more than the 100/20 plan that they offer on their website. So yeah, I decided to go for a cheaper option, and comparing the price, I'm now paying $90 per month for the highest and fastest internet connection I can get at my premise, compared to at least $105 and even a little bit more if I would like to get the full speed with other providers. So a little bit cheaper and still a very good service. And I need to say I was actually very happy with the customer service they provided when talking to them on the phone. So I hope this comparison and those little details about what I had to do when moving places helped you, and I'm looking forward to see you in my next video. Until then, bye!